dear darlings, how to write an effective video script. Please follow us on social. Yeah. So let's start here. You all know who this is. It's Greta, our famous Swedish climate activist, who stood up in the UN and just told the world that this is enough, enough is enough. And we had seen a lot of Greta before, but nothing she had done before this had made the impact that this speech did. And the day afterwards, all the Nordic papers looked like this. I know that it was more or less the same all over the world. She made a true impact, and the video where she was just raging about the environment was spread all over the world. And since I work with video, I was quite curious about why this made such an impact, because she had been there before. She had spoken, she had been on TV, but this was different. And I saw a lot of analysis saying that, well, she was angrier than ever, or she was so close to tears. They blamed it all, or said that it was because of all the feelings she was showing. And that was my analysis too, until my VP product made this video and posted it on social. And when I saw that white text on a black background, my hair, the hairs on my arms just stood up, because it was so powerful. And that's when I realized that what Greta had this time was an amazing script. And that was a big part of why this speech was so impactful. Before we go into the script writing, though, I'm just going to tell you briefly a bit about StoryKit. So I would say that we're #1 video tool for storytellers. There are loads of cheap or free apps if you just want to do some small animations, and there are heaps of great agencies if you want to do the prize-winning adorable ads. But if you want to work with video consistently all the time, I would say there's nothing like StoryKit. We came to life in spring 2018, so we're quite new. We have over 400 companies working with us, and we're at every department, HR, marketing, sales, wherever everyone want to do video. We have users all over the world, and we'd love you to join our Facebook group, where we share inspiration, we share things that happen in our worlds, we talk about video, we share everything that we know. So it's video for social media. Please join. And who am I? Well, I'm the marketing director at StoryKit. I am the journalist who turned into a marketer just because I love storytelling so much. And marketing is storytelling. And it's been great. And I love to connect with people. So please do connect. I'm not that active on Twitter, and I mostly speak Swedish on Twitter. So do connect on LinkedIn if you want to hear me rattling about video and marketing and just kids who interrupt my webinars or whatever. So the agenda for today is quite straightforward. Let's talk a bit about video, and then I'll give you 5 steps. I think I even have 8 steps now. Anyways, a couple of steps to an effective video script. Never mind. So just get into it. First of all, I want to talk a bit about what video actually is, because the world of marketing and communication has changed so much, but we still believe that video has to be this. The big, costly productions, the epic split, the things that people talk about for years. And you need a script, and you need a makeup artist, and you need those heavy cameras, or at least you need some person who is an expert on some complicated software, who can go into a dark room for weeks and come out with something magical. Or we believe that we need to be influencers, that we need to film ourselves, that we need to expose ourselves, that we need to be funny, that we need to be like quirky. We still believe this about video. But the truth is that something has changed. So today, most videos should look like this. And these are all StoryKit videos from different companies that we work with. And they are all text-driven, made mostly by stock images or just images that these companies have in their own archives. And they are really effective. Why is this? Why would I change like the epic split effort to a simple text-driven video? It's because something fundamental has changed in the way that we consume video. Today, 80 to 90% of all video views happen without sound. And this is such a fundamental change in how we consume video, because that wasn't the case before. But and that's a change that we as an audience have been pushing, because we want to watch video, we want to be on social, we want to consume content everywhere. We want to do it on the bus, we want to do it in meetings, we want to do it when we're in the bathroom, want to do it when we watch other things on TV. And then we don't want the sound to come on because that will disturb, or we want to watch video as we're listening to other things in our AirPods, and we don't want the sound to come on. And now you might say, well, that's not the case on like TikTok or YouTube. And that's true, even if a huge amount of those video views also happen without sound. But you see, none of these social platforms are isolated. So sooner or later, your TikTok video will end up on LinkedIn. It will end up on Twitter. It will end up on Facebook, especially if you go viral. And then you have to have that soundless context to worry about again. It's so impactful that Facebook even made this slogan, like design for sound off, but delight with sound on. Of course, if you put the sound on, it shouldn't be a bad experience, but it's not the most important thing. And this means something when we create videos. It means that the most important factor for successful videos isn't the heavy camera or the makeup artist or the quirky influencer. It is the script, because the video is text-driven. And this means that we have a new video pro in town. And that's the person who can write, which is good news for me, since I'm a good old text journalist who had never worked with video before I started working with StoryKit. And now I create videos several times a week, because the thing I'm best at is the most important thing for video. So we saw this change at StoryKit, and we tried to find a tool that would help us to put the script in the center of the video creation, but we couldn't find it. So we built it ourselves. So we made a tool where you can create a video from any script, any text you have, and the AI will do all the video things. It will do the animation and the styling and all those things that I'm not very good at. And you all of a sudden have video creation without editing. So what you need to be good at is the script. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Let's get to the point. How do I write that amazing script? The first step always is to check your basics. You need to think before you write. And my tip is to be very hard on yourself and ask yourself these tough questions. Why would anyone want to watch this? Why? Why would anyone want to watch this? Why would anyone want to share this? I mean, video is the most shareable thing you have on social. But why would someone want to share this with their friends or their coworkers or anyone and say, hey, take a look at this? Why would anyone want to comment on this? Is it engaging? And is this story interesting for anyone outside our company? You need to ask yourself these tough questions, because you need to get that straight. Think before you write. The key here is to be interesting. I read this the other day and I loved it. To be interesting, you need to be interested. So don't think about yourself. Think about what your audience wants. The second thing you need to know is what you want to achieve, because your script will be quite, or should be quite different if you want the audience to do different things. Do you want them to learn something, or do you want to change their attitudes, or what do you want them to do something? Do you want them to click, or do you want them to open a book, or do you want them to do something? Do you want them to feel something? Or maybe you just want them to be entertained. And there are loads of other stuff you might want to achieve. But as you see, these things will create different videos. The third thing, and this is so important, is you need to find your target audience and shrink it. So you're probably all working in some kind of marketing or communication, and you know your target audience, you know your personas, you know all that stuff. But the thing is, when you work with video, your target audience has to be this small because you're talking about one thing in your video. So this might be all the people you want to reach, like your company's huge target audience. And here are those who are interested in this particular story that you're trying to tell. So you need to shrink that. When you see this, you will say, but I want to reach everyone here. Well, the point is not to create a video that is good for everyone. The point is to create loads of videos with different agendas, with different scripts, with different messaging. So create more video. So the fourth thing you need to know is that you need to do one thing at the time. This is connected with the target audience thing. We often talk about our golden video rule that everyone breaks. Try to not break it. If you're going to take one thing with you from this webinar, it's this: one subject, one target audience, and that's a micro target audience, one video. So you're just going to talk about one thing in your video. You're just going to talk about one thing to a specific person or audience, and in one video. If you need to talk about a lot of things, do a lot of videos. If you need to talk to a lot of audiences, do a lot of videos. This is the biggest mistake people do, because people still think about video as that very, very, like, we're going to do everything in one blow thing. And so everyone has stakeholders saying, couldn't we talk a bit about our CEO? Couldn't we talk a bit about our vision, our mission? Are we going to talk about our parts? No, that's like 5 videos already. The second step when you write your script is to sort your information. You know now what you're going to talk about, who you're going to talk to, and what you want to say. Now you need to sort it, because you need to remember that you're always telling a story, even when it doesn't feel like you are. Even if you create a 15-second, a 4-second video, you're still telling a story, because everything is storytelling. And I'm going to show you this very famous example to prove that. This is said to be the shortest story ever. It's 6 words and it says so much. I think we're not quite sure who is really the author of this quote, but it's often said that it was Ernest Hemingway writing it. For sale, baby shoes, never worn. That's a whole story in one sentence. And if you can do that in 6 words, you can do that in a 6-second video. And this means that you need to consider the story arc, even if you're doing something really short. You need a beginning, you need a middle, and you need an end. So list what you want to include in the video. And this should be not that many things. And sort it. And take most of it away. And always remember that every video has to be a unit. Another mistake I see people do is thinking, I'm going to do a series of videos and I'm just going to take for granted that my audience see them all in the right order. That never happens on social. That might happen on an intranet or during a keynote or other things, but on social, that never happens. So your audience might see 1 of those videos or 2 of those videos, but in the wrong order. So every video has to be a unit and a whole story in itself. Very, very important to remember. But how long should that video be? Well, in Sweden, we have this saying, how long is a rope? I don't know if that translates to English, but we don't know, because one of the one of the things that people believe in social media is that people have short attention spans. But as this guy, Julian Shapiro, says, they finish 3-hour Joe Rogan episodes. They binge 14-hour shows. Hey, how many hours haven't we spent listening to our favorite podcast, or watching our favorite series, or playing our favorite TV game, or reading our favorite book? The thing is, you need to grab their attention. So the rule is not like a 60-second video or a 15-second video. The rule is as long as you can keep the viewer's attention. And I made an interview with a girl from Facebook who actually said that this is what they say too. I've heard so many people saying, like, I've heard that Facebook says that a video should be 15 seconds. I've heard that Facebook says that it should be 3 minutes. And I asked her about those numbers, and she said that that's always a misunderstanding, because our recommendation is to create the video as long as you can keep the viewer's attention and not any longer. So this won't make it easier for you. So even though I will give you one little tip. We often say that a story, that 60 seconds is a good estimate for a story, somewhere around that. If you can make it shorter, make it shorter. If you need to make it longer, but better. And what you also need to do is to check out the retention. This is a whole other webinar, because the retention curve is so special, but it's the only quality metric for your video. Oh, I see that I have a Swedish, sorry. But okay, in Swedish, they call it målgruppskvarhållande, but in you find it under your site statistics, page statistics, and you'll find the retention curve. And what you see there is how long your video stays in your, how long your audience stays in your video. And what you want to do is keep them for as long as you can. But you always have to know that you will have a huge drop in the beginning, because that's the way distribution on social works. They show the video to a lot of people, and the people who are interested will watch further. But you will drop people in the beginning. Don't be afraid of that. What you need to do then is to keep the people who stays. The third thing you need to think of when you are creating your script is to start with a bang. The first seconds are crucial. We know that. Our thumbs are scrolling, or our fingers. So spend some time getting it right. They say that you have just a bit of a second to really connect to the audience. Your first slide should make the people want to watch the second slide. And the second slide should make people want to watch the third slide, and so forth. Think of every slide as crucial for the next slide. And here are some examples. There are millions, but here are some of common examples of captivating starts. You can start with a great question. That's a good hook to just catch the viewer. Or you can have a headline, but that headline has to have a great hook. You can't just like, this is what the video is going to be about. You need to have a great hook. An inspiring quote is always good. It's a good headline for an article. It's a good headline or a start for a video. Or you can just get straight to the point. That's also a good thing. I've seen people working sometimes a bit too much with a headline, which can be quite a slow start of the video. So what happens if you take that away and just get into it straight away? See what happens and look at the retention. What happens there? You can also introduce the challenge, of course. That's also a good way to catch the viewer's attention. So steg, you see that my translation here has some mistakes, but step 4 is to work with the words. And here's when we start to really write the script. First of all, as I've said throughout the presentation, kill your darlings. You need to boil things down. You need to make it shorter, and then you need to make it even shorter. And I've told you a couple of times already why this is so important. But if it's important with a written text, it's much, much more important with your video script, because every word, every letter, every exclamation mark counts. So kill your darlings, please do. And language-wise, keep it very, very simple. Write like you talk. And I don't mean like you actually talk, because when you talk, you say, don't start using that in videos, because that won't be a good idea. But write in a way that people understand. Use language that is simple and straightforward. Cut out all the business words and the business abbreviations and all those things. Those are unnecessary and will make it harder for the viewer. Be super, super clear. So when I talked with Josephine at Facebook, she said to me that Facebook is not a place where you try to be a bit mysterious. It's more like, hi, I am from company X and I want you to buy this thing. That's a good way to talk on Facebook when you're doing ads. And the same thing goes for stories. It's not like, oh, I'm going to write a very mysterious start here, because won't work. Be super clear. What do you want? Use short word and short sentences. And this might be difficult at times, but try, because longer words are harder to read. Longer sentences that you have to cut over several slides or several parts of the video will make it harder for the viewer. Keep it simple. Another thing you need to do when you write your script is to think about tempo changes. And this has to do with the story arc too, because no one wants to see just a steady flow of the same all the time. So use short word, longer words, just one word, just different types of tempos in the videos. Can something speed up and some things be slower? That's really good. You can also use the assets that you have in the background for this to change the tempo in the video. Maybe something is really slow, just a slow still image, and something else is more like happening more. So what you should do is mix longer phrases with shorter. And you need to remember that 1 or 2 words can have more effect than a whole sentence or 10 exclamation mark. Really trust your words, trust your script. You know what you're doing. Another thing that has to do with how you are writing is to be active. Write today we're launching instead of today blah, blah, blah is launched. Don't use passive form. And that goes for all writing on digital, but it's especially important in videos because everything needs to be even tighter in videos. So be active all the time. You know, when your spelling program tells you this is a passive form, change it to an active form, and you're like, yeah, what? In video, do that. And always write about you. Never write about us, unless you have to, of course. So try to write, no, you don't have to spend time on difficult video creation. Instead of, our platform will help you, blah, 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 blah. Always talk about you. It's always about the viewer, not about me, our product, our company. And think about what tonality you have. The greatest tip of all is to be positive. And this is quite unusual today, I would say. I've seen so many cocky, like, yeah, we're better than the others. Who cares? I want to hear from you. So change your negative words, your negative expressions to positive ones. And that will make everything happier, which of course is better. So try to be positive if you can. I mean, you don't have to be like, wee, but at least not have degrading or like language that can create a bad feeling in the viewer. But also, of course you need to adapt the tonality to the audience, to the purpose, to the context, to the subject. I mean, you can't talk about some things in a really happy and laughable way. And sometimes you do have to talk like that. And if you have a younger audience, you need to adapt to what they are saying. And if you have an older audience, you need to adapt to what they are saying, and so forth. But the greatest overall tip is to try to be positive when it comes to tone. And one thing that people often forget is to add a call to action. And you remember that I said that Josephine at Facebook said that Facebook isn't a place to hide or be mysterious. The same goes for what happens in the end of the video. Telling the viewer what you want them to do, or what you want them to feel, or what you're doing is helping them. The viewer wants to know where this is leading. Okay, what's next? An example of good call to actions is like, yeah, I want a demo, sign in up in the post or through the link in the post. Perfect call to action is to get people realizing that this is happening now. So do this today, do this now, this happens tomorrow. Rhetorical questions that I will get back to might be really good here as a call to action. Do you want a great tool for video creation? Of course you do. And so forth. Free might be a trap, because free can be considered cheap or not worth your time. But use it when you need to use it. In Sweden, we have the very, very annoying word kostnadsfritt, which is more like no cost. Which is too long and too boring to use. But the Swedish translation for free, gratis, play around with it. But sometimes it's really good. I mean, if something really good is really free, then people will like it. And of course, look what the other 500 or 425 companies has done. They love us. You should do that too. So use things like that as a call to action, or a CTA if you want to speak marketing lingo. The last tip when it comes to writing your script is to get help from a friend or a colleague. Colleagues are good at seeing things you can remove. All those darlings that you didn't kill, they can tell you to kill them because it's not their darlings. But colleagues are also good to tell you when you've removed too much. This is a mistake if you want to go very far to the other direction. It is a mistake that people also do. So I have my script, and that person at StoryKit told me to kill my darlings. So I took a lot of it away. And since I know the story, I still know what this video is about. But if a colleague watches it, he or she might say, well, I don't understand this anymore, because you might have taken something crucial away. So colleagues are great in many ways. We miss them all. So those were the tips for script writing, and also a couple of things to avoid, unless you know exactly why you're doing this. So with all writing, you know that if you know what you're doing, take the freedom, the artistic freedom, but if not, avoid this. Rhetorical questions. These can have a great effect if they are used right, if you really know what you're doing, but they can also be so confusing in a video. So what did you mean? Once again, don't try to be mysterious, just say it out loud. Try not to use tautologies. They just take up space. And what is a tautology? I didn't know that that was a word in English, but it is in Swedish. It's like when you use two words to say the same thing, or two sentences to say the same thing, like warm up, or a serious crisis, or totally unique. If you warm something, you don't need to warm it up. Maybe that's a bad example in English. It's a really good example in Swedish. Never mind. A serious crisis. Well, a crisis is serious by default. Totally unique. Well, something unique is always unique, not just totally unique. You know where I'm heading at. Try to get rid of all the redundancies, the unnecessary words, the the little things you put in between, maybe to sound a bit more relaxed or just like in the flow, they're often unnecessary. Try to take them away. As I said, passive form is not very good. Subordinate clauses. I learned so many new words when I was translating this for for you. That's a sentence that after a comma, instead of having one long sentence with a comma in between, chop them up in more sentences. It'll make your language a bit more staccato-ish, but it will also make it easier for the viewer to follow your story. Avoid captions. And I'm not talking about those headlines with a great hook, but I've seen many people use headlines or captions in a way that is more descriptive, like our list. If the person doesn't understand that this is a list, maybe you shouldn't need to put it as a headline. So try to avoid to be like that, unless you're creating something for the monthly financial meeting where you need to have like January numbers. Avoid crammed text. If you look at a slide in your video and feel, whoa, a lot of text, the viewer will too. So avoid that. Shorten it, spread it out, ease it up. And if you need to or want to, by some artistical reason, to have a lot of text on one slide, give it time. The worst thing in the world is when you have a lot of text and it goes too fast and you just haven't got the time to read it. So the last step, it was 5 steps. I'm confused today, sorry. The last step when you're creating a script for social videos is to do it. And this is a tip I always say, but with script, it's so obvious that we are all beginners at some point. And there is only one way to learn, and that's by practicing. This is something I tell my kids every day. How do you learn? By doing it several times. And remember that even those who work for a very long time with text-driven video in social, they have done it for maybe a couple of years or so, because there weren't any text-driven videos in social for like 10 years ago. When I started working with this 6 years ago, I heard rumors about some companies in the US doing text-driven video very good, like Vox and BuzzFeed and all of those. And that was so new. And that's 6 years ago. So being a beginner today is nothing strange. And the only way to get better is to practice. So create video, publish them, look at retention, discuss with your colleagues, get better. So let's end with a checklist because I've been talking so much. First of all, ask yourself, have you discussed your subject and hook with someone else? Because your idea might be good in your head, but not for anyone else. Ask yourself, is this script about one specific thing and targeting one specific target group? As I said, one subject, one micro target group, one video. If not, create more videos. Have you asked yourself, why would anyone want to watch and interact with your video? Very important to know. Because if you don't know, why would they do it? Have you asked yourself, is there a better way to tell this story? Maybe it shouldn't be a video. Maybe it should be an image, or maybe it should be a text post, or maybe it should be 3 videos, or so forth. Always ask yourself, is there a better way to tell this story? Of course, are there unnecessary words or sentences you can remove? Kill your darlings. Can you understand this video, even if you don't turn on the sound? 80 to 90% of all video views happen without sound on social. And also, if you want to use the videos for internal screens or maybe for presentations, it's often better without sound. So there are so many areas where you don't want to be relying on some sound. And of course, how does the script match what you know about your target audience? This is so important. You need to ask yourself, what do they think of every day? What are they discussing? What keeps them up at night? And so forth. So with this, I say thank you.